Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to T3PO Live. Hopefully I'm coming in loud and clear here. I think I am. I do think so. Looks like the pro show is still going on, which is completely fine, completely normal. How is everybody doing today? Come on in. Like I always say, the water is warm, and oh boy, if you're in Florida right now, the water is very, very warm. And some people have been saying, actually, that because of the warm weather in Florida, that's why people aren't necessarily attending in the large masses that they historically have at the world-class destination that is Walt Disney World, the company's flagship destination resort. Why people haven't been going? Is it because of the heat? Well, I think we'll go ahead and debunk at least a little bit of that, and maybe even provide some reasons as to why people aren't showing up in the numbers that they should be, have been in the past. I'm not sure, but it should make for a very interesting conversation. That is for sure. None of my panelists are actually ready to make it on screen. That's all right. That's completely fine. But that doesn't mean that we can't have some fun talking about some happenings in the theme park world. It's very, very interesting right now because there's a lot actually happening and going on right now. If you keep your ear low right there. So let's go ahead and take on some of these news updates right now. So we have actually gotten updates on the Country Bear Jamboree. Supposed to be making its debut here later this year, actually this month, July 17th, which is pretty remarkable. Amazing turnaround for such a beloved attraction, and for an attraction that has supposedly received so much work in the last, a few months that it's been down. Very, very interesting. It says right here, Walt Disney World has given fans a sneak peek inside the new Country Bear Musical Jamboree by introducing the cast of bears that guests will see once the attraction opens July 17th. Here's the latest. So you see Ursus H. Bear, all right, after an inspirational hibernation season, Ursus H. Bear set out to create a permanent cultural showplace dedicated to America's musical heritage. In 1898, Ursus established Grizzly Hall with a honey tycoon turned impresario invited tuneful Bruins to present zany and captivating performances in a show that quickly became known as a wild and woolly good time. This is very interesting right here too, because the original concept for this bear actually had a blue jacket. Now, why is that important to the story? It's important because the curtains behind there are also blue. For the first time ever, they are going from red to blue. That's kind of significant as well because they'd always historically been red. I was talking to this with Jonas, actually, and he was saying, well, I think the fur actually stands out against the blue background a little bit better. Now, his jacket was blue, and as I was just saying before, you always want that contrast, these characters to actually stand out. And sure enough, they actually changed his jacket to white in order to reflect that. That's a very interesting kind of change. And it just shows when the Imagineers really dedicate themselves, when the Imagineers really kind of take these things seriously, actually dedicate the not just the budget. We talk about budget and money all the time. It doesn't necessarily take a huge budget to create a great attraction or a great execution on an attraction. It just takes some care and some time, love, attention, that attention to detail. And it looks like they did that here with changing his jacket pretty late in the game, from what I understand, from blue to white. That I thought was a nice touch, and it's like, okay, hey, maybe this won't actually be quite the disaster as we've seen with projects like Communicore Hall, for example, or projects like, I don't know, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, right, with that attraction being down 26% of the time or whatever on any given average operating day. Also, too, the audio animatronics over there having some real big issues. These audio animatronics are upgraded versions of the ones that we've seen previously. Actually upgraded using the audio animatronics from Splash Mountain in order to give them a new lease on life. We'll see how that actually works, but it's looking pretty solid so far. Some people have been saying that the little bear here, he looks much more freaked out than he ever has been. I thought that was a nice observation for sure. Some of the costuming looks really good. Other costumes, some people have various opinions on. Maybe not looking as good as perhaps they have looked in the past, including this 3 right here. The previous sunbonnets have been turned into, I don't know, Dallas Cowboy cheerleader rejects. I'm not sure what they were going for right there, but we'll have to see the quality of execution, because I will say some of the performances that we've been hearing that Imagineering has been releasing so far have actually been pretty good. And in fact, it looks like Mickey Views might have actually gotten the full song list for the Country Bear Jamboree, and that is really, really cool. Goes down right here. This is from, obviously, Braid from Mickey Views. This morning on the Disney Parks blog, Disney released a first look inside the updated Country Bear show at the Magic Kingdom inside Walt Disney World. Refreshed with new costumes and updated internal components, Country Bears are about to be back, hopefully better than ever. The reimagined show is entitled Country Bear Musical Jamboree. Will officially open, like I said, on July 17th, 2024. Sources of Mickey Views have provided us with what they believe is the full song list for the new show. It says right here, new original song co-written by Henry himself. That's kind of cool. Country Bear Musical Jamboree. Kiss the Girl, Disney's Little Mermaid. Well, hopefully, I could make the joke, guys. I could make the joke, especially in light of what we have been learning about the Little Mermaid and its performances over there at Disney's Hollywood Studios for that version of the attraction. I don't know if anybody's been aware, but the casting call has actually been released for that. And it's very noteworthy because the casting call specifically says something to the effect of men or those presenting as men, and women or those presenting as women for key roles, especially for Eric and Ariel, which is also noteworthy. That is for sure. So I see Kiss the Girl and I go, well, you know, the jokes make themselves, I suppose. A Whole New World, Aladdin. Okay, Not bad. You've got A Friend in Me, Toy Story. I guess Pixar needs some representation somewhere on this list. I guess it's not a bad way to go. Try Everything, Zootopia. I was most concerned about going Shogi with the appropriate $2 super chat at the right time right there. Yeah, kiss the girl in quotes. Yes, you are absolutely correct. And thank you so much, Going Shogi, for the $2 super chat. Very much appreciated, good sir. We'll see if it's gonna actually be a biological woman or a woman that presenting as such. That's gonna be a very interesting story here. And speaking of a couple of noteworthy gentlemen in our lives, well, I present to you a couple here for the show. Let's go with Barry Plays 28 and Lou Wasserman's Ghost straight off the Pro Show. How y'all doing?
Well, I'm just coming to you hot from the Pro Show, and
yeah, well,
yes.
not too hot now. Not too hot. It's been a very hot day in Florida.
Yeah, it's very hot. Absolutely hot.
Mm-hmm.
How are things in Anaheim and Buena Park and all those good places?
Oh, yeah, Bob, how is it going over there?
Sorry, I was on mute again. Well, probably not as hot as they are back east, but they're definitely pretty hot out here. I mean,
I don't know. I saw something about a record temperature.
Yeah,
127 or something crazy like that in Palm Springs. So
yeah, I was going to say that's Palm Springs, not out here in Orange County. But yeah, it's definitely been hot and humid. I did a 7-hour stream on Saturday, and whew, I needed the neck fan that I had on.
Man, I have gone to Disneyland in July. I've actually gone to both Walt Disney World and Disneyland in July more times than I can count, and I'm oh man,
Disney World's
if
worst.
if I never have to do it again, I wouldn't say I would be all that.
Oh man, but the humidity in Florida is insane. I remember the very first time I went to Disney World, which would have been about 3 or 4 months after Epcot opened, because I didn't care about Magic Kingdom so much, but I wanted to see Epcot. And I remember getting off the plane at Orlando Airport, which in those days was MCO, not the current designator, because originally it was called McCoy Field, and it was where they trained people to fly the Corsair, the gull-wing Baba Black Sheep fighter plane. That's where they trained the pilots. Anyway, I get off. It's air conditioned, of course, in the airport, and I get to the big sliding doors that open on the outdoors. Not only does the heat and humidity hit you like a slap in the face,
oh man,
but the sound effects of all the bugs and the birds. It was a jungle out there, Jane. And I said at the time, and I've said since, the only thing missing was Martin Denny tiki music. Doom, 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 doom. All that was missing. And yeah, it was killer, and it still is at this time of year.
It's bad. It's bad. We'll get into heat in just a moment. I mean, literally just a moment. But I do want to go ahead and leave the story with your guys' opinions about what you think the song list for this new Country Bears reimagined show is. Like, do you think it's good, bad? Are there songs that you would have otherwise had? Do you think that there are some that maybe shouldn't be included? What do you guys think?
Kiss the Girl and Whole New World in Country?
Oh, you said my sentiments exactly. To be honest with you, when I heard they were coming out with those, I was like, do they really have to do those ones? The thing about the Country Bear, Jamboree is that, it was always iconic with their own, style and take, and, their music was, just a fun, and it was always memorable. You could, sing those country tunes later. I get it. They want to throw some IPs in there with
Bare Necessities makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They have to do that.
But
I could see a spoofy version of Supercalifragilistic, but
right.
I don't. Come Again. I don't even. What is that?
It might be a new song.
I think it's a new song. Yeah.
Written for the Country Bear Jamboree.
But I just feel like they didn't need to add all these different IPs. They want to do 1 or 2 cutesy things. That's cool. But, the cool thing, like America Sings back at Disneyland, that was so original and so cool because they had, just clips of different songs that you would remember and you would sing. And that thing is a long, show.
Yeah.
It is. they're doing these, IP songs just to get everyone in. I don't know. And also, I understand they had to
24
update
minutes.
the characters and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I just didn't think they need to update the songs to IP.
Yeah, there was this great band back in the probably 80s called Big Daddy. And what they did was as if modern pop and rock songs had been done in the 50s and 60s. So like the Big Bopper doing I Write the Songs, or oh God, there's so many. They did the whole Beatles record as if it was, and one sounds like The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and one of them sounds like Jerry Lee Lewis. I got that. It was fun. But I don't know about some of these. Well, we'll see. I mean, I can hear all of them in a country twang, but then they all sound the same. So how many different, you see what I'm saying?
That's a fair point.
Well, I guess the proof will be in the pudding.
I was very concerned about Try Everything, and then I heard, the recorded versions that they, or the snippets that they've been releasing, Disney that is, and it actually sounded pretty decent. So I agree with you. We're going to have to see, but I also share your sentiments. They might start sounding the same if not done properly. It's going to be really interesting. I know they're bringing in Nashville talent, which is really, really cool. It seems like, I was just saying before, it seems like there's a lot of love and care going into this attraction. So I have high hopes for it, as high hopes as you can have for a reimagined version of a classic.
See, what I would want to know is, did the Nashville talent get to pick from a bunch of songs, or were they told these are the songs, make them work?
Yeah,
I think it was. I think it's the latter.
Yeah.
I think it's the latter.
And by the way, I know we're talking about the songs, but just looking at the characters, some of the characters that are on there, like Big Al, or not Big Al. Oh God, I can't think of his name. The one with the raccoon hat. He no longer has it, and it's kind of a bummer. They've got rid of some of those little details. The raccoon.
Yeah. Had they changed the color palette, it looks more vivid than I remember the orangeness of the fur.
I think they did refresh all of the fur. Yeah, and then they we were saying before they added bright blue curtains to the backdrops in order to make the bears actually stand out. Not a bad idea, I don't think. I think
it looks good. It looks sharp, but
I do like that the little bear is holding a Big Al teddy bear now instead of the toy bear that he had before. That's kind of cute.
I didn't notice that. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's kind of fun.
Even if he does look like a creepy dog.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were saying that, like, oh, he looks a little bit more freaked out than he should be, and I think I agree with that sentiment as well. I don't know. It's just we'll see.
Now, are these the same armatures, or are they new machines?
These are the same audio animatronics as before, but upgraded with the parts from the Splash Mountain AAs next door. That's the story there, which is very interesting. Let's go ahead and I'll get the super chat right here, and we'll switch gears to the attendance over the 4th of July weekend, because I think there are some interesting observations from that whole thing, and maybe some reasonings as to why that may have happened. I cannot wait to get your guys' opinion on it, because I think it's a very fascinating story. Go and Showy with $5. Thank you so much. I've always wondered, can a Disney water park thrive in California, or would it die if it's not part of a bigger resort? A Disney water park in California would likely be associated with Disneyland Resort. I don't think there's any question of that. Nowadays, I think Disney's taken a different approach to that, because obviously the water parks in Florida have not done well at all post-pandemic, which is really fascinating. I'm not sure if it's because
they only run one or the
there.
other. They don't even run both of them. And technically, there used to be 3 back when you consider
River Country.
River Country. So
River Country.
I was actually, they were talking about that on the Pro Show, and I was joking that what was it? Never mind. It was off color the more I think about it, but it was about the snow park and whether you should look out for the yellow snow with the kids. But anyway.
Gotcha. I think they make some jokes in there about that. But it's, I think
we got plenty of water parks here. here, there. Knott's, of course, has one right there.
Right.
There's one. Is there?
Soak City, I believe.
Yeah, Soak City is what it's called.
Okay. Yeah, and then there's that one out there in what is it, Ontario, or the big one out there in the park,
Raging Waters
on the 90. Yeah, Raging Waters, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so and besides that, a lot of people have swimming pools in Southern California. Although where you are in Arizona, if that's not wrong to have spilled the beans on, I don't know.
Oh no, you're fine.
But when a friend of mine moved there, he told me that historically the humidity went up as the population grew because of evaporation from all the swimming pools. By a couple of points. The average humidity went up in the summertime from what it used to be in the Phoenix and Scottsdale area. So I don't know if it's true, but a friend of mine who lived there swore it was true. So but when you figure they used to have all the rice paddies there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a great agricultural center of the United States. Arizona is, that's for sure. I know
it was a huge rice and cotton area. And in fact, when World War II hit and they couldn't get those things from Egypt and places like that, it became the main supplier for the country. So
right. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Our Arizona's participation in many conflicts is very, very interesting.
There's a resort. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think there was a good OC article. I think Jason Schultz on Twitter, the famous Disney Parks historian, I've shared it before on here. I don't know how to find it right now, but if I can find it before the show, I'll show you. But the speculation of a third park in Anaheim was a water park for the longest time. Now I think they've recalibrated and they're like, okay, maybe we should make it, whatever investment that we make in terms of a third gate for Anaheim, be more substantial than just simply a water park. That would be largely a seasonal operation, I would suspect. But but very interesting, Go and Shogi. Thank you so much for the question. Speaking of seasonal operations, Walt Disney World's supposed to be packed this summer. What is going on? No, we actually know on good authority it was never necessarily supposed to be packed this summer. But the question really becomes, why is it so deserted? I mean, I understand softness, but these are crowds that I've never seen at Walt Disney World, especially for the July holiday. Guys, have you seen this article? Have you seen the coverage? What are your thoughts?
You want me to tell you why?
Go for it, Lou.
First, locals are saying, I keep hearing all these bad things about Tiana and about other things breaking down and about this finish of Epcot being pretty awful. And so they have no great motivation. Mm-mm. Secondly, people from outside of the area are saying, let me check out other things. Because I know Lorena, who told us what a graveyard it was, on the other hand, SeaWorld was just absolutely packed to the gills. So people are saying, I've been there a million times and maybe I should go. I haven't been to SeaWorld in a while. Maybe we'll check them out instead and let Disney get their act together with this Tiana thing. Because the pre-publicity of how bad that's been takes away the motivation of, hey, new ride, let's go. Thirdly, everybody made a point about that picture that you see with bunting on the left-hand side. There was no bunting this year. There was very little, if any, decoration anywhere. In fact, we showed when we talked about it before, I found a picture of Main Street in Hong Kong had more American flags than Orlando did. Of course, anybody saluting them got sent to the park across the street. So it makes you wonder. I was just speculating on this actually earlier today on the other show.
Please.
I wonder, because Disney tracks data like crazy and they know way in advance how big the crowds are going to be or not be, if that was the motivation to cut back on the decoration, saying, hey, we're not going to have a big crowd this year. So why bother to spend the money to put all that stuff up and take it all down? And I'm told the big, super huge, usually the most spectacular of the year fireworks show ran for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So, on the other hand, Universal, who knows that everybody's saying, oh, let's wait till next year to go there because then that great new park is going to be open, puts in the new parade, the new nighttime show, and they don't do it at Islands. They do it at the original park, which always becomes the step sister of the three when everybody thinks about.
Well, I was going to bring that up, Lou. I don't think it necessarily we're seeing cutbacks in terms of like decor or fireworks shows. I do absolutely think it is corresponding with the crowd levels that Disney is projecting. I do think that there's a correlation there without question, but I also think there's a correlation between that and the lack of entertainment, not only at Walt Disney World, but also very much so heavily at Disneyland. All of the cutbacks that we are seeing, I guess actually MiceChat actually made that inference on their update, which we'll be getting to in just a moment, folks. Believe me, there's a lot of great stuff embedded in the article. But no, I think this has a lot to do with a lot of that. Now, what's interesting is, Lou, you bring up Universal. Universal is not saying, well, we'll pack it in for this year, guys. Don't even worry about it. We'll do the big celebration next year with the opening of Epic Universe. They're saying, no, we're going to debut big, huge investments in entertainment this summer to get as many crowds as we can possible for this summer, and then we'll have obviously new entertainment that we can bring back for next summer, next year, to help balance out those crowds when that park actually comes online. And how they're going to do that is very interesting. Let me go ahead and add one more panelist right here. Ron E. Bradley, what is going on? Hot off the Pro Show. What's going on, good sir?
I had to have a bathroom break before I came over from Pro.
You have two choices, Ron. You can be a TV star or you can go to the bathroom. I'm sorry, you can't have both.
Hey, I don't have one of those special like Spider-Man suits that Tom Holland had, where like I don't know, they built things into it.
Yeah, pilots call that a relief tube.
Yeah.
Now, Ron, I want to go ahead and get your take, especially for this segment, because I know you know the visitation patterns of the Walt Disney World Resort. You understand what July 4th is supposed to look like, has looked like in the past, and maybe can provide insight as to why it doesn't look like that currently. And we've gone over wait times and stuff before in our prior coverage as to what happened over the weekend, but just to give guests, our viewers here, an insight into how low the crowd levels actually were. 35 minutes for Haunted Mansion, 40 minutes for Jungle Cruise, 30 minutes for Pirates of the Caribbean. I know Bob's like, wait a minute, those are good times. What are you talking about? No. This is Walt Disney World. This should be 3 times higher. Big Thunder, 45 minutes. 45 minutes for Space Mountain as well. 50 minutes or so for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and about 50 minutes for Peter Pan. At Disneyland, not much better. What is it? The 35 for Peter Pan, 40 for Big Thunder. Actually, MiceChat actually reported lower numbers than that for Big Thunder. 45 for Matterhorn, 35 for Disneyland's newest attraction, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And I believe I caught Space Mountain at 15 minutes. That might have just come up from Breakdown. But Ron, I want to get your take. Where is everybody? Why'd they leave? What are your thoughts initially?
So I gotta go all the way back to 1977, because the very first time that I ever visited Walt Disney World Resort was when I was 5 years old in 1977. And guess what week it was? It was the 4th of July, because that's when everybody comes. And the fact of the matter is, Disney World was the park for Americana, right? So it was a patriotic park. You have Liberty, the town square, the Liberty Tree Tavern. You have 4th of July meals. You have Hall of Presidents. It's very patriotic in the past, and the fireworks, of course. Nobody could ever outdo Disney's fireworks. So in the past, like I would say, even through the last the decade of the 2010s, you kind of knew to stay away from Disney on the 4th of July if you were local, because it was going to be packed like sardines in a can. And so I don't know what the heck has happened, but ain't nobody there right now. I mean, and I don't know if you have this, but maybe you can bring it up, and that is the planning calendar. If you remember, they're doing reservations, like date-based reservations for the parks right now, and then they have these things called good to go days. Good to go days are the days that even if you're a pass holder, you don't have to make a reservation. Well, this month in July, good to go days have appeared across the calendar and even on the weekends, which means you don't even they know that the attendance is going to be so low that they just can open up to everybody. Now, honestly, I think they need to get rid of the reservation system altogether, but it's the fact that you're seeing these good to go days being added throughout the year. They weren't there before. In June, and now the calendar is packed with these days. You don't have to make a reservation. I don't have to make a reservation tomorrow. I can just go.
Yeah, so this is really fascinating. Marvin actually wrote Marvin the Movie Monster, that is, wrote an article on that park place talking about this specific subject right here. And this is very, very crucial to understand, folks. Good to go days are days that Disney can activate at a whim to provide for annual pass holders to enter the parks at their leisure. There's no reservation required to enter the parks when a good to go day is activated. And again, like I said, they can pull that lever whenever they want to. It says right here, that's why the collective pass holder community was shocked when Disney released good to go days right smack in the middle of July. These include July 10th, 11th, 13th, 14th, 16th, 21st, 28th, and 29th. Four of these are even on weekends, which are days one would expect the parks to be a lot more crowded. The last good to go pass holder days took place in May, with many expecting them not to be returned until slower days in September. This is very unusual patterns that we are seeing from Disney to activate good to go days in this way to entice pass holders to come to the parks during this time. Historically has never been the case, and I want to debunk one thing about this, because I think a lot of people are saying it's the heat, and I think Bob Iger used that as well. Okay, Disney Glimpse is going to give you a shout out here, and then Bob, I'm going to go ahead and throw it to you for something here. Disney Glimpses did the research. He did the grind on this. He did the work on this. This is Walt Disney World's real feel heat index going back to 1972. And you can see it's been pretty consistent for the last 50 years of the park's operation here.
I gotta confess, I looked at that really quick and saw real feel, but what I read it as was real feet. And I thought, is this guy going out there and walking on the concrete in summer every year?
Think that.
Woo! Here's the maximum dew point right here. The humidity level about the same. Also, too, that's a real feel that I was showing you. In fact, in 1996, they reported the highest heat index reading in the state Tuesday was a sweltering 118 degrees, recorded in Orlando. Juxtapose that with the following year story. Magic Kingdom says it shattered worldwide attendance record. This was 1997 from the Orlando Sentinel. So just because it's hot doesn't mean people aren't necessarily going to come to the resort. That's never been a direct correlation way that people.
For that matter, somebody in the chat was talking about weather shutting down rides and stuff. Yeah, that'll happen on certain days.
Right.
But people make plans for these vacations weeks and months in advance. And so
exactly.
if you're coming from Ohio or something, yeah, we know it's hot, but that's when the kids are out of school and that's when I can get away from work and that's when we're going to go. And they put the money down and make the plans. And obviously several weeks out, a lot of people didn't.
Now for the regional business, I think a weather correlation is absolutely true.
Sure.
Bob, this is what I kind of want to throw it to you about. So Disneyland may suffer from bad weather. I think that's absolutely the case. But Walt Disney World, I don't think suffers in the same way. Could you describe for the viewers here what guests may do in bad weather at Disneyland that they might not necessarily do at Walt Disney World?
I'm not sure what you're getting at here, there, Dre. But
well, what I'm saying is that because of the larger annual pass holder base that Disneyland has, right? So if you have rainy weather on the horizon, people just might not opt not to go.
Yeah,
whereas
just
what
don't
Lou
go.
was saying, I think is
go
poignant.
next week when it's not raining.
Right,
Exactly.
So with annual passes here, I mean, obviously it's it's hot. It's not as humid as Florida is and things like that. But yeah, people just go, oh well, I'll just go next week, like you said, and I'll just do that. The problem is, you got this darn reservation system that kind of throws everything into the mix now. But I got to tell you, when I went to, Walt Disney World for the 4th of July, and in the month of July, during, I think it was 2014, sorry. And I got to be honest with you, people were there in droves. It was crazy busy, all that stuff. And so when I heard Bob Iger make that comment, I'm like, oh, come on, man, that's not true. You know that the weather is always hot this time of the year. The fact that someone, Disney Glimpses took the time to do this, kudos to them. It's like, look, it is consistent. It is the same thing every single year. You're just making excuses, for yourself and for the board as to why Disney's not doing well. Tom F in the chat said it's pricing on everything, and I kind of agree with him, because it's more than just pricing too. But I mean, they have just done everything they could to ruin the company in several different ways, and I think the pricing finally has caught up to them. That's why they were extending, at least out here in Disneyland, the Magic Key sales from March until June. They did it for a long period of time, which they have not been doing since the pandemic, kind of ended, or I should say, since they started selling the Magic Keys again. And it's crazy because, they would sell them, and then it was off sell, and then they sell them again. It's off sell. And they're kind of building that up. And then they realize people are just not buying tickets. They're not buying annual passes. They're not renewing their annual passes. So they left it open, and it still didn't do well. But I think they finally capped it, because I think that they're going to be building up that pent up demand. And I know we're going to be talking about this a little bit more on the Mice Chat thing, so I'll reserve some of my other comments. But it's more than just that. And the whole thing about this weather is just driving me nuts. I can't stay on those comments.
Vash,
I don't. Oh, please.
Pro had a chart of wait times going back years on the show today. Do you know what chart that? It was all oranges and greens and yellows, and what bar chart?
Yeah, I believe.
You know which one it is? Because there was a point about that one I was going to make and didn't. And if you've got it, I know you've got 4 million open windows.
That was the
I have
wait times, the average wait times
through the years.
Tabs right now. Let me see if I can find it. If not,
if you can,
I'll just pull up his
not,
stream.
that's cool.
Cool. Well, go ahead. What were you going to say about it?
Well, about if you find it, I'll comment, and if you don't, I won't, because it needs
see. Okay,
needs the visual.
Very much incumbent on me.
No, just anyway.
No, you're good. So
the point was that the wait times that obviously were very high before the pandemic, and then of course were non-existent during it, and they've never come back to the high they were in 2017, 2018, those years before. Never. And people were saying, well, that's just, whatever. And I thought, if you look at that chart and you take an average just out of Wharton or Harvard Business School, doesn't know anything about politics, doesn't know anything about the entertainment business. You're just showing this as an example of a business that obviously was thriving up until right about that time when the pandemic happened, and afterwards has never come back to where they were. What would he say in the abstract? He would say, well, what was the one big change from then to now? And I would wave my hand and say, somebody in a very high office changed hands. All I'm saying is inflation is only getting worse. And people are being made more conscious of it. They're sharpening their attention because of the pending election. And you know what? Even if you especially if you live in Southern California, where the cost of living is so high compared to other places, and when you've got a park that's mostly a locals park as opposed to mostly people coming from somewhere else, all that goes together. And people say, all right, so it's 4th of July. So fireworks are illegal, but that never stopped us before. We'll buy some anyway somewhere, and we'll do it in the backyard. And the money I was going to spend on a 17th plushie of Mickey Mouse that my kids don't need will go to steaks and hot dogs and beer on the backyard, because, damn it, that saves me the driving and the gas and the traffic. It's just reality kicking in for most people.
I will say, going back to the 4th of July thing, Disneyland was actually kind of, not so busy during the day, but at nighttime they were packed. You can go back and you can find videos. There's a lot of people who are waiting out in the Esplanade area as well as inside the park. It's a little crazy for Disneyland, unfortunately, when it comes to the 4th of July. Not sure why, but everyone goes there. Even if they're in the Esplanade, they can't hear the music for the fireworks, but obviously you can see them from the Esplanade and downtown Disney, etc. So you do get a good view. But yeah, I was kind of shocked to see how crazy busy it was for the 4th of July. Now, I didn't go. I had some other friends that did go, and obviously saw a lot of those videos. I was surprised. I knew it wasn't going to be very busy for Walt Disney World. And while they still didn't have the bunting out there that I really think they need to have, they did have Mickey Mouse, dressed up in red, white, and blue with, a sign in his area for, a meet and greets. And that was cool. They did that. But, and then, sorry, I was sorry. I was looking.
Oh, you're still fair. You're still here.
I've got YouTube on and I've got the stream on, and I was looking for I'm like, why is Dre talking over me and he's not saying anything? Anyhow,
I do that all the time.
I know. I hate that.
I do.
I'm sure you do. But the whole thing is that, it's really disappointing to see, and we're going to talk about this some more, but we're not going to see the bunting next year either. I'm predicting that we're not, because we already have. So last year was the 100-year anniversary. This year they're doing Pixar Fest, which still, I think they should have just moved that Pixar Fest on Main Street to other areas and done it down Main Street for the bunting and everything. And then next year, guess what? They're going to be, getting ready for and celebrating the 70th anniversary. So we're not going to see any of this bunting anytime soon. And it's sad, because Walt Disney's always been very patriotic. And I've always liked the fact that, the park has always been very patriotic. And to see that we're not going to have this for 3 years in a row is really disappointing.
Well, the question is, do we think to any degree this is the current management feeling about patriotism or the lack thereof? And some of them, they're protested shame at being a part of this country because they think it's an evil, fascist, sexist, what have you. I don't know. I really don't know, but I know that when you say why all those people come out for it is because in a world that criticizes them for being patriotic, they want to affirm it. And that's one of the places and one of the ways that you can do that in our modern society. So
it's very true. Actually, Mickey Central comes up with a lot of reasons as to why we're seeing a reduction of attendance, right? Of people visiting the resort. He actually, Dom, this is actually points to the fact that
that's the one. Go back up. There it is.
It's not interactive, but it is a version of the chart. Yes.
Yeah. No, this was the one that I saw, and I said, "What happened in between?" And the answer is the economy, and the economy is political, and that's life.
Yep.
But I think it goes double. Look, if you figure that the massive crowds for 4th are largely locals, whether they're in Florida or in California, and you figure that the higher taxes and higher cost of living make doing anything that isn't necessary, what used to be a routine now becomes an indulgence and a luxury. It makes sense that California would be even harder hit in a way. And the fact that it isn't, I guess, is a testament to a lot of people in California saying we don't like this stuff that's going on.
I think it has been hit a little bit. I think all these parks have been hit, especially regional theme parks and so forth. At least the ones that are known to overcharge. I think that's why Six Flags got themselves into trouble, because as economic conditions worsened, as people were a little bit more, what do you want to say? They were being more money conscious, right? And Six Flags started to overcharge. I think a lot of people withdrew their money from Six Flags and applied it to other parks. I think that's
that also
Disney parks as well.
That also applies to annual pass sales, because the great thing about annual passes, I used to have a friend, a business contact in Garden Grove, so I would go down to see him for lunch, and I had an annual pass. I'd go play at the park for a few hours, have dinner at Granville's to avoid the traffic driving back to the west side, and then I'd come home. Well, that's swell, and that makes an annual pass just an absolute wonderful thing. But if I've been buying one every year and I'm paying the kind of money I'm paying, and even with the blackout date ones, a lot, and I find because of the general economic status of the universe, I'd only want to go 2 or 3 times a year, which just barely maybe pays for the pass. And maybe next year it'll be 2 times and it won't pay for the pass. I have to start evaluating whether that's still a bargain for me anymore. It's not as far as the price, as far as the number of times I'm going to go in a year. So
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think that's why Magic Keys, I think a lot of people were making the same equation. Like, okay, if I get a Magic Key, how many times am I going to use this? Is this worth the $1,600 investment or whatever to purchase into it? And look, I mean, and you can see that Disney, they definitely want you. Here's my Magic Key invitation right here.
Yeah.
That Disney sent me. They want they want that visitation. They want that to actually occur.
In effect, they're making interest on your money all year when you buy that once. So there's a benefit to them financially beyond getting you there, you know. So, and then of course, everything in the parks has gone up in price and down in amount or quality or both, as far as all the food and all the merch and stuff. So,
right,
it's.
Oh, go ahead.
It is $6 plus $6 plus for a Mickey ice cream bar. It is $6 plus for a Mickey ice cream bar now. Like,
and how many
you
quarts
can buy
of ice cream?
2 gallons of ice cream at home for less than that. And and they're smaller than they used to be. It's very strange. It's the quality's gone down, the price has gone up, and it's across the board on everything. And the parks aren't as clean as they used to be. There's I hate to say this, but there has been somewhat of a decline in the quality of cast members because a lot at Walt Disney World, a lot of Walt Disney World cast members stayed gone after they were kicked out in 2020. Everybody was laid off at the end of the year that wasn't already working in the parks, and so then they started bringing people back, but a lot of people decided not to come back, and then so those had to be replaced, and they're still having trouble apparently, because every one of my commercials on YouTube lately has been, hey, please come to work for us, we need you, with the caveat that if you're like a straight white male, we don't want you. So
well, that's always a caveat right here. Let me read you a couple of these reasons, and I want to throw it to each of you to see whether or not they're on the right track. Is there something they miss, or do you think there's one reason that might be more likely than another? It says right here, increased costs, removal of FastPass Plus, removal of Disney's Magical Express. That's a big one right there. Imagineering projects with cost-cutting measures, Splash Mountain rethemed. Potentially. Saving money for Epic Universe. Florida's oppressive heat and humidity. We like that one a little bit. No festivals at Epcot. That's kind of an interesting one because usually they would have a festival at this time. They don't, notably. Lack of new rides. Reduced 4th of July decorations. Insights from regular visitors. So social media and what people are actually saying about this place. I think, Lou, you talked about that in the past. What do you think out of those reasons right there is the most likely one, or is there one that they don't necessarily mention here?
Well, if it's like everything else in entertainment, like movies, like everything, it's lack of quality. It's value for money. It's just that simple. And not just for money, for time. When everybody came back from COVID, and obviously a much longer time in California than in Florida, the attendance went crazy. And Disney took that as an indication that, see, we're right. Everybody's so addicted to anything Disney that we can survive anything. And we were right to delay the construction on the rides we were going to have. And we were right to cut back on Magic Express and the meal plan and all that stuff. Wrong. Everybody had a pent-up demand and they fulfilled it. And then they looked around and they said, you know what? I haven't worked in 6 months, a year, whatever it is, or I've had reduced income, or my business has had reduced business from people because they couldn't get out and come buy what I sell. I'm going to have to take 6 months or a year just to get me back to something semi-normal. I don't think I can do that and spend $5,000 to $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 on taking my family this year. So, it was the false belief in a never-ending bounty of attendance, followed by the reality kicking in for the actual customers.
Yep. I think so.
And when never mind the Mickey ice cream things for $6, when that gallon of ice cream at the supermarket is $1 more, and you want it every week because look, when I moved from Southern California to the Southeast, I did an interesting experiment. I was just telling Culture about this today online. I said, what is the most absolutely the same, no matter where in the country you are, product in the supermarket? Not produce, because that could vary based on regional whatever, not meat, not dairy. And I came up with the one thing that is absolutely the same if you buy it in New York or California or Oklahoma, a jar of a certain size of Skippy peanut butter. Okay, same brand, same stuff. And I pulled up the weekly grocery ads for Vons and Ralph's near me in the San Fernando Valley, and for where I was moving to. Do you know that same jar of peanut butter was $1.64 more in LA? Now, why is that? It's not the peanut butter. That's the same. It's not the jar. That's the same. It's taxes. It's OSHA. It's cost of employees. It's real estate on the store. Well, you say to yourself, well, all right, yeah, but that's just a jar of peanut butter. Well, if it's an average of $1 or $1.50 an item, and you go to the grocery store every week, and you pick up 30, 40, 50 items in your cart, and you add that over 52 weeks a year, wow, that's huge, especially when you consider there's no income tax in the state I'm in now. So this stuff matters, and people notice. They may not notice all the talking heads on TV and politics until an election. They may not pay attention to the big picture, big issues. But when it's money out of your pocket going into buying the basic stuff of life for you and your family, it matters. It matters. And when you see the balance on that MasterCard or Visa going up, it matters. It hits you where you live. Yeah. And when somebody says, great, now why don't you shell out a couple grand and go down to the park? Go ahead,
Ron.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say from my personal experience, I just did an experiment not too long ago where I pulled up an order that I had from Walmart online for groceries for $51 in the late fall of 2021. And then I'm like, okay, let's put everything in my cart today and see what happens. And the exact same products were $82 today. So
yeah,
$50. I mean, it's almost doubled in a matter of 2 years. And that just goes into saying, where is your money going on vacation, on whatever? And if Walt Disney World has gone up at a faster pace than that,
yeah, and it has,
less and less and less people can afford it.
Sure. Oh yeah, Walt Disney World's ticket increases have outpaced demand for a while. Most notably, I would say it really turned to overdrive once Michael Eisner took the reins, and it was like, hey, I need an infusion of cash to turn this company around. And for a short while there, everything worked out great. But obviously, you rely on those budgets, you rely on that income, and now you're, eventually you get to a point where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. In this case, that's kind of what's happening with streaming, right? They're taking all the money from the parks. They're not necessarily investing it back into that business. They're taking it and investing it elsewhere. Unfortunately, Paul's a bum and can't contribute worth a dang towards the economic output of the company. Meanwhile, Peter, he's got both his legs broken. What are we going to do here? That's really, I think, the situation that Disney kind of finds itself in right now. Yeah. Oh, and here's the thing: they're going to be investing big money, and we'll have to see what they actually end up bringing to the table. This is why I kind of want to pivot the conversation towards this Mice Chat article, because it kind of goes into this a little bit and is very, very interesting with some of its predictions. And Dusty has great insight. He has great sources as he has connections through outlets and so forth. But it's it's a very interesting time. And I think as people become more cost conscious, you know, if you're not investing into your theme park product, I think people know, they understand, they recognize that. They'll take their money to people who are investing there, to companies who are investing into their theme park product. Otherwise. So like Universal, for example. Hey, we know we're getting a brand new park. Let me just go ahead and forego the trip to Walt Disney World this year. We'll wait until 2025 until we can indulge there. I think that's what people are doing. I think that's what people are saying around the dinner table or in their heads. It's very, very interesting. Bob, you mentioned the 70th anniversary, and MiceChat, through their Disneyland update article, actually mentions that as well, and talks about the D23 Ultimate Disney Fan Event. Remember, that takes place next month, 9th, 10th, and the 11th. So what could be in store there? Let's see. This from Dusty Sage. This year's D23, the Ultimate Disney Fan Event, the artist formerly known as D23 Expo, that's funny, will likely shed some light on the 70th anniversary, along with the big expansions on the way for the years ahead. And while we'd love to think that Disneyland will get some major things open up in time for the major 75th anniversary in 6 years, Disney isn't always consistent about meeting deadlines and major milestones. Absolutely. So expect to get a lot of what we can get. After all, this will be the third expo since the first promised a big new Avengers themed e-ticket attraction for the Avengers campus. Due to Chapek's budget cuts, they dumbed down the ride from the ambitious cutting-edge ride system to a more cost-effective trackless motion-based type of ride. For all the lost development work, new design, and years of labor, we could have gotten a more expensive ride to begin with. That's very true. But whatever they finally build, if it isn't something spectacular, fans will feel awfully disappointed after the long wait and build-up. That's absolutely correct. Because of some of the delays that they've had in constructing these things, you know, I mean, people have this pent-up demand. They have this pent-up, anticipation for some of these things. And it has to be worth, the years of build-up. I mean, how long have we been hearing about Beyond Frontierland or Disney's Animal Kingdom's Dino Land replacement or any of these other big expansions? They really had to bring it here. I mean, people are getting antsy.
Especially to the true believers who go to that.
Exactly. Exactly.
The influencers who were influencers long before there was an internet.
Yeah, exactly. Go and Shogi. How do you mess up a Spider-Man ride? I know. It is.
Yeah.
It is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Avengers Campus debuted what, Bob? 2021? Summer of 2021?
Yep. Exactly.
We've had a reduction of entertainment since then. We've had no update on the Marvel e-ticket outside of a few Disney Parks blog posts and a couple of D23 Expo presentations from, the ambitious plans 2019 all the way to the reduced plans in 2022.
And meanwhile, there's going to be no more Doctor Strange and no more. I mean,
exactly.
Down, yeah. So
it's just hard to get excited for these things.
Is there no Dora Milaje show either?
Dora Milaje is still performing. I believe it's reduced, though. Is that right, Bob?
Yeah, it's just reduced. But the whole thing is that these are all the factors that are, helping the parks to stay not as busy. Now, Disneyland is obviously a lot more busy than Walt Disney World, part of it because of, NL pass holders and stuff like that. They're not as busy. Last year, we kind of saw that the crowds were a little bit reduced. I think it's based on, several different factors. I think it might be a little more reduced this year, but not a whole heck of a lot. But the thing is that there's no more innovation. And that's the concern I have. And we kind of talked about this before on other podcasts about we have nothing original. Back in the day when Disney was around, you had Matterhorn, you had Big Thunder Mountain, you had these non-IP rides that were really cool and really neat attractions. You don't have those things anymore. All they want to do is throw IP stuff around. And then, like here, Avengers, we're going to do this high-tech, cutting-edge thing. And we've done that. We've gone from that to, we're just going to go ahead and do the, Wi-Fi trackless, rides that we've been doing with Remy and things like that. Okay, that's great. And those rides are cool too. But if you keep taking away innovation, you keep taking away entertainment, you keep taking all these things away, then what's the incentive for you to go to the park? The whole reason why people are excited about Epic Universe is because there's innovation, there's new rides, there's new attractions, there's excitement about things that have never been
technology.
done. Yes, the technology. It's amazing. Well, we don't have that right now. That's the problem.
This is a really interesting point, Bob, because I believe Disney Glimpse has actually commented on this as well. He says, think about the most recently popular technological advancements when it comes to the parks, right? Sorry about that, Josh Hammond. Happily Ever After, outsourced. Flight of Passage, ride system, outsourced. Rise of Resistance, ride system, outsourced. Guardians of the Galaxy, ride system, I believe he's talking about Cosmic Rewind, outsourced. Tron, outsourced. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, outsourced. He goes on to say Imagineering is dead, at least the perception of it, by many, if not most people. Imagineering hardly does any heavy lifting or actual innovation anymore. That's not a slight against on them based on recent offerings. It's just how the group has changed over the years. They were speaking about the horrible state that the World Celebration Gardens lighting, floor lighting is in right now. None of it works. Almost none of it works right now at Epcot, and the columns are still having issues. It really is sad, Bob. Going off of your point, to examine this creative juggernaut that was Imagineering, and the amazing advancements that they made to technological. I don't know. I mean, industries all over the world, monorail, people mover, everything, and to have it be reduced to, well, it's just basically a contracting firm at this point. It's really heartbreaking.
Well, and you can see it happened with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. You got three Imagineers who took a ride that was already existing and, made it worse. How do you do that? You should have been able to.
And what it means is, just like the modern stuff being outsourced to the coaster makers, Tiana was outsourced to Imagineering from 30 years ago. I mean, they decorated the same roller coaster. You know what I'm saying?
But that's my whole point, is that there's no innovation. They went on, we're going to do this and this. We're going to change a few things. But everything you see, like, there you go, Communicore Hall. It is embarrassing. There's not a whole lot to it. It's like, wait, you've been working on this for how long? And this is what you came up with? And now, maybe it's a budget issue or something like that. But regardless, it's just like Apple. Apple used to be innovative, right? Everyone was following Apple. Now Apple's following everyone else. Well, I feel like Disney's starting to do the same thing. It's like they used to be, the top theme park to go to. You couldn't get anything better than Disney. And now places like Universal, and Cedar Fair, they're starting to catch up to what Disney was doing, and they're getting better at theming and rides and attractions and innovation. And they're trying to capture that. And I think because of that, that's why I think Epic Universe is going to do so well. And, time will tell. We'll see, especially with the whole ticketing thing, which we're going to get into. But I think that, when you have, people who want to thrive and innovate, they're definitely going to come out on top and succeed over those who don't want to. And that's a problem with the Imagineers. People like Tony Baxter have been ousted out. You don't have any good Imagineers there anymore. And I'm not saying they've got good Imagineers, but a lot of the old school Imagineers who really did a great work in the parks, around the Disney parks, are no longer here anymore. And, they had their problems and issues back then too, dealing with each other and whatnot and egos, but at least they accomplished and they got things done, and there's still magic in those rides. And right now I'm just not feeling the magic at all in some of these rides and attractions or the parks.
I don't think Universal has caught up with Disney. I believe Universal has, at this point in time, surpassed Disney and what they're doing with Epic and what they've done with Harry Potter and the thing. It really is a massive changeover. I remember when I first moved to Orlando, how dead the Universal parks were. I got an annual pass, and I even ended up working for Universal as a scare actor for Halloween Horror Nights in 2010. And Harry Potter was being built and then opened, and nobody had ever seen anything like that at Universal. And everybody looked at it immediately and went, wow, this is Disney level. Like that was the phrase back then. Like, oh, wow, this is Disney level. Well, I have a feeling that within 5 years, people are going to be looking at the Epic parks and go, if Disney needs to get caught up, maybe they'll do something Universal level. I mean, that's where we are right now. So I honestly think that it's just so weird. Like Communicore is a perfect example. Innovations, the two buildings that were there before, the three buildings, one still housed the store, the merchandise store, but the other three Innovations buildings all had interactive exhibits and rides and attractions inside them, and they replaced all of that with a splash pad and an empty eating hall. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous. So I was going to say I hate to have to pull a Tony Baxter here, but I do have to exit myself. But it's not a slight against Vash or anything else. It's just I have had a busy day and I have more work to do tonight. So,
hey Ron, that's the thing. You get out while the getting's good, and you leave it a high, right? No problem there at all. Ron, tell the good folks where they can find you.
Follow the Bradley's Fun, easy channel to find. That's the name of the channel. We absolutely have a great time as a family. We do family vlogging, but also bring information about the parks and anything else. And tonight we have a show at 7:30, which I think doesn't really interfere with anybody else's show. If you're going to the Acolyte after party or any of the other stuff, I'll be on with Ozark, Matt Ankney, and we have a show called Two from the Loo, where we chat about how Midwestern values, which are often the values overlooked when they're doing these theme park things on one coast or another coast, and how that applies. Thank you very much to to what is going on in the theme park and pop culture industries today. Obviously, pop culture and everything bleeds into the theme parks today. So with Ozark, Matt and myself, we're both from St. Louis. We both bring Midwestern values to the table.
There was just a sigh of relief breathed by everybody out there in jolly old England when you explained that it meant St. Louis and not what they thought they heard. Two from the loo.
We're not two people not going into the loo. No. The loo as in St. Louis, as in meet me at the fair.
There we go. Yeah, I just want to make that clear.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because certainly after the pro show, I definitely had to hit the loo. So
yeah, well,
that's what.
And as much as I am sure it's a great show, and I look forward to watching it, this loo is not a part of it either. So
yeah,
just for
truth
in advertising here.
Thank you so much, Vash, and Bob, Barry Place, Lou. As always, great to see every one of you. So fantastic. Great time being on. Thank you so much for having me.
And all our best wishes to you, your family, your lovely wife. And
she's the best.
They're great people, folks. Follow their fun because it's good fun and they're good people.
All right. We'll see you, everybody.
Bye, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Very much appreciate it. Ron is absolutely phenomenal, great source of insight and input, and just unbelievably knowledgeable. We love his contributions so much here on the That Park Place Network. Getting back to the article here.
All right, I was going to say,
there we go. They're going to build that, right?
Yeah.
Right there next to the Disneyland Hotel, right?
Well, real quick, going back to what Ron was saying, he was saying, I think these Universal surpassed Disney. And my whole point was that's what I was trying to get at. Disney, was always up here and everyone else was down here. And now Universal is, up here and Disney is down here. And even, Tom F brought it up in the chat. SeaWorld's got another roller coaster out this year. I mean, it's Penguin Trek. I want to go. I mean, I see it and it looks really, really cool, but they had Pipeline last year, the year before they had Icebreaker. I mean, they have all these great coasters they're coming out with. It's like they keep innovating too with these coasters. Maybe not a lot of theming, but you want to go and check it out. And that's the thing, is that there's nothing that you want to go and check out right now at Disney. Although there may be things like this, Avatar. We'll see.
Oh, well, we will definitely see. Let me go ahead and read this paragraph right here, because I think this is very fascinating. But here's the good news. Is there good news? We'll see. Disney knows that they have been disappointing fans with lackluster announcements these last two expos. That's an understatement right there. And Iger needs to start selling investors on where all the promised $60 billion for the parks and resorts is going. Does he, though, or is that somebody else's domain? So Imagineering is working on overdrive to produce panels, presentations, and a major expo booth to showcase where they have been spending all that cash. Unfortunately, nearly a third of it has already been set aside for Walt Disney World, which will make Orlando a major focus of the expo, not Anaheim. And honestly, rightfully so, but we'll get into that in a moment.
Yeah.
Additionally, funds will also go to more cruise ships, get into that as well, vacation club and story living expansions, new parks and lands for Disney's international parks, perhaps the surprise of an entirely new Disney resort in parts of the world not yet served.
I
But
think
Disneyland
we spent
fans,
$60 billion about 20 lines ago, didn't we?
yeah, exactly. That's a good point. But Disneyland fans shouldn't despair. We haven't been completely forgotten, even if Disney isn't quite ready to commit to a new Tomorrowland at the Expo. That's interesting. There are other big projects on the way, like the long promised Avatar or Avengers rides. So what do you guys think about that? The potential of a third of the money being set aside for park expansion going to Walt Disney World, I think that's a significant one. And then two, do you think it's going to be worth all the hype?
You know, if I were a Disneyland person still, by geography, and I looked over at Disney World, and I saw Tiana and the Epcot disaster, I would say, please keep spending the money over there if that's the way you're going to spend it. Don't bring that stuff here, please. Although they already are, of course. With
well,
Tiana.
They have commentary on that too. That's something I wanna get to as well. Bob, do you think that they should be spending that much money at Walt Disney World? I actually think they should, just to put my thoughts out here before I throw it to you.
Sure. Well,
only because it brings in so much cash from the company. But what do you think?
They do, because the problem with Walt Disney World is it kind of, even though they have 4 theme parks out there, it kind of gets, I don't know, put in the back behind Disneyland, and Disneyland tends to get, it seems like, more rides and attractions for the 2 parks they have compared to the other 4. So they need to show some tender love and care to that park, and they definitely need to maybe make some changes and updates. So I'm okay with 20 billion going over to Walt Disney World. I don't think that's an issue. I think they need to do it. But at the same time, I feel like $60 billion, and that is a lot of money. Look how much they just spent, from what we know, on Tiana's Bayou Adventure. If they keep doing things like that, and they keep blowing money on entertainment, like 300 million or more on the Acolyte, I mean, the money is just going to waste, and they're ruining their opportunity to really improve on the parks. And the thing is, the parks are what's making everyone money.
Absolutely.
Disney, not the entertainment. And so, I mean, obviously,
not so fast.
Well. Come on, Lou.
No. I'm saying that has been true until now. My question is, with this huge attendance fall off for 4th of July, and soft attendance otherwise, and the impending impact on attendance of Epic, has the contribution to the overall company from Orlando Disney seen its high water mark forever? I'm not saying it's still going to be a lot, but will it ever be as high as it's been? At the rate they're going, no.
Well, the rates they're going, no, but I'm always an optimist, all right, with everything, or try to be. And look, I think Disney is in a terrible slump. They are horrible right now, and I think they can make it back. It's just going to take time and effort, and they need to make a lot of changes and
new management.
And new management, obviously,
because the people in charge are perfect.
Well,
they never make mistakes. Well, that's their attitude. And the first, I keep quoting this tired old joke, but how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? One, but the light bulb has to really want to change. So they don't want to change.
Yeah. And
when they ask him about Epic, and his response is, well, I've known about it for years. And that's why we've been putting, 1 4-minute coaster every 5 years into the parks, because that's much better.
Yeah.
That's much better than a whole new place that innovates. Yeah. Who does he think he's kidding? Himself is the answer. Himself. And
we just saw the merger with Cedar Fair and Six Flags Entertainment.
A good point.
So it's going to be interesting if they can make changes to Six Flags and the Cedar Fair, higher ups who are actually taking over can get that company under control. Then I think Disney can do the same thing. It's just a matter of switching out, the management, like you said, and their philosophy on things and the way they're doing their entertainment. Unfortunately with Disney, there's so many things they need to change. They can do it. It's just going to take time to do it. And, as long as they can continue to, all they need to do is to tell good stories for their entertainment, and they need to focus on innovation for the rides. And I think they'll do well, but it's gotten to the point where they're charging so much money and they're not innovating, and people are so tired of everything that people are starting to shy away from Walt Disney World. It's showing a little bit at Disneyland, and I think it's going to continue to show more, and people are going to show interest in other places than the theme parks at Disneyland if they continue this pace.
Well, look, I have all my life, literally, been a great lover of Knott's Berry Farm. And we know that Walter Knott and Walt Disney were at least friends.
Yep.
Do you think ever, once it got established, not at the very first days when nobody knew if it was going to make it at all, but do you think ever, once Disneyland was rolling along, Walt ever seriously considered Knott's Berry Farm as competition or worried about him? Do you think he ever thought that way about Universal? I don't.
No.
And do you think if Orlando had never happened for anybody, and we were still back in the world of Disneyland, Universal, and Knott's Berry Farm in Southern California as being the places, do you think the merger of Cedar Fair and Six Flags would have worried any of those guys? No.
Nope. No.
So my point is, their attitude of, well, but we're Disney and we're in a class above, was right at one time in their history for a long time. It isn't anymore, but they haven't changed the attitude. They have not adjusted to the world. Now, on the other hand, look at Universal only, relatively speaking, a few years ago, with one after another lame screen-based ride in Orlando. And the audience said, this is lame and screen-based and we don't like it. Did they say, well, we're Universal. You're coming here to ride the movies. You don't know what you like or don't like. We're going to keep making them. No, they listened.
They changed it.
They listened to the point, which I thought was so funny when these preview videos came out for Epic, and there's no screens anywhere in this ride. They had to say it to remind people, we listened. Honest to God, please give us another chance. And
but that's reflective of a mentality that they understand where they can improve and want to improve, like you said.
And that's why I love you when you say they have lots of things to change, but all it takes is there's only one thing that has to change, and that's the nut that holds the wheel. Yeah. That's not easy. And all of this, well, we have a succession committee and we're working on it. It doesn't mean a thing if they put the same philosophy in that boardroom and in that C-suite. This company does not need to decide between their failing studio chief and their failing theme parks chief and their failing sports chief to pick another chief.
Yeah.
They need to decide to go outside entirely and then fire a lot of people. And it won't be easy to fire those people, because if they say to them, but you put all this stuff in, they will reply, I was just following orders. It will be, I'm serious. It will be the theme park version of the Nuremberg trials. And people will sue. They'll say, I only did everything you told me to do, and now you're firing me for it? See you in court.
That's a fair point.
And then the last problem will be, all right, we got rid of all the jerks. We get it. We really do. How do we convince new people to come in and work for us? We're going to say, well, you said that last time, but you didn't really mean it. You said you were going to turn down the noise, but you made the acolyte. You said you were going to get rid of the DEI, but you kept on doing it to the point where you're being sued by the federal government, by the EEOC, for openly telling all your people only hire minorities. In other words, there are good people out there. They're working for Garner Holt. They're working for Universal. They're working for that new park in the Midwest. These people didn't become bad people because they left Disney. They still like what they do and they want to do it. But they want to do it for a place that appreciates them and that doesn't give them political marching orders and that doesn't hire people for political or social reasons before hiring them for talent. And to get them to say, okay, Disney, we'll give you another chance, especially when they're established at these new places that presumably will continue to follow the formula for success and not treat people that way. Why would they leave? And why would young kids coming up remember all of that D-file stuff that Alan and Chris did? The bottom line at the end of it was, therefore, if you're at Cal Arts or you're an art student or you want to be, and your big goal in life was to be working for Imagineering, you need to not have that goal anymore because they don't appreciate you. And for all these people that used to want to work for the big comic book companies, the answer is do it yourself. The people who want to direct movies, guess what? The toys, the cameras, the editing stuff, the software are so relatively cheap that your uncle can finance you and you can make a movie that's pretty darn close to competitive with Hollywood. It isn't just the bad direction that they turned it at Disney and elsewhere. It's the fundamental change it made in reaction that things will never go back. And this is not just about entertainment. I said when COVID hit and people were working from home, and I said someday when this having to is over, people are still going to want to. And suddenly the net result in the economy, what is it? Commercial real estate in America's downtown cities is plummeting. People are defaulting on $100 million office buildings because there isn't anybody who wants to work there anymore. And that was happening anyway as the internet grew, but it got this huge, I would say a 5-year acceleration at least by COVID and what happened. Well, this attitude of putting DEI in is the COVID of the entertainment industry in that way. It took what was already transitioning as the technology got better and cheaper and as creativity abounded, and it's just made it zoom ahead from where it would have been by now. That's all. So I wish all of these places were great, and I wish every park that everybody opened was close to as good as I think Epic is going to be. But not when the biggest, powerful, most international company in this business keeps going neener, and putting their fingers in their ears and their hands over their eyes and saying, I don't see any of that because I'm the boss. So screw them. That's poison. End of speech. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to just rattle on like that. Well, maybe I did.
Let me read a couple more things here. I'm going to throw it to Bob here because I really want to get his thoughts on just a couple of these things because I think it's very, very interesting. But I'll set it up, though. There's a whole lot of Disneyland 4 that Disney needs to start explaining. I would agree. We've all seen the maps of what they could build, but the $60 billion budget shuffle doesn't look very good for Disneyland. Agreed. Third park sized money doesn't seem to be headed our way, at least not yet. But there are still billions of dollars in new projects that will hopefully spark the interest of tourists and locals alike. Question is, will it be enough to change the growing perception Disneyland is overpriced for what it offers? If Disneyland can't fill the hotels all around the resort in the middle of summer when kids are out of school worldwide, something is terribly wrong. Disneyland needs some magic and a new way of giving guests what they really want instead of what Bob Chapek wanted them to accept, and which Josh Giamaro is still pushing. Let's hope Josh is watching the tea leaves and has something bigger planned than the current budgets indicate, because there's good reason for us to be concerned. Bob Iger, Josh's biggest supporter and enabler, won't be around much longer. His contract ends in 2026 if it isn't extended yet again. These projects need to get into major production before the next CEO comes to power and potentially wants to cut budgets and change things to match their own priorities. I keep saying this, and people keep not acknowledging this. And likely the new CEO won't be from a theme park background. Agreed. $60 billion in potential spending now can quickly become billions in savings when budgets get whacked by a new CEO. That's why we pushed Disneyland. That's why we wish Disneyland was crowing loudly about a third park now, so the momentum will be too hard for a new CEO to cancel. Bob, There's a lot there. It also goes into like the current guest experience and how, what is it? It's a little bit subpar right now. Obviously, goes into decor, goes into the lack of crowds, which might actually hurt funding for the future if park operations or if C-suite doesn't believe that Disneyland is necessarily the revenue driver that it could necessarily be. Why spend money on it? What do you think about all of these things embedded in this article before you have to depart?
Yeah, so there's a lot in this article, and I'm going to kind of touch on some things maybe that you didn't mention. But what's interesting is I think we're going to hear a lot at D23, and I think we're going to hear a lot about what they're planning on doing for the expansions. As far as I think we're going to hear finally something about Tomorrowland, but it's not what you guys are expecting. Unfortunately, we're going to hear more about the Disneyland Forward and what's going on with that. But the whole thing is, again, with D23, they always make these fantastical, just announcements are just amazing. And then we're so disappointed. Then 2 years later, we hear, oh, they're going to do this instead. Or, 4 years later, we're going to do this instead. It's like, why do you guys keep doing that? Don't tell us about it and don't overpromise if you don't know what you're going to do.
It's like Lucy and Linus and the football.
Right. Yes.
That's exactly what it's like. It occurred to me when you were describing that. And he keeps falling for it. And we keep falling for it.
It is. But the thing is, I think a lot of people are starting to get tired of falling for it. And a lot of people called Josh Tomorrow out on it and Bob Iger. And the thing is, we're going to see what happens, this year. I think they're going to be making announcements because the Olympics are coming. So what are they doing the next, 4 years? On top of that, because we need something new like Avatar Land. So they're going to be talking about that. So they're going to be talking about all these things that we want to hear about. My issue is, are you going to talk about stuff that you're actually planning on doing, or are you just giving us a bunch of fluff and then you're going to, take the ball away from us, in 2 years? I hope that's not the case, because they really need to pick up the ball and they need to run with it this time instead of just, acting like they're going to let Linus kick it. So now you got me on that analogy. But at the same time, you have a lot of things like we've already talked about today. They've taken away entertainment. There's no new innovation or rides that are out there that are exciting. You got things like right now, this summertime, what do we have going on at Disneyland right now? Pixar Fest is cool, but it's not as great as I think they thought it was going to be. All the entertainment's been, taken away, or a lot of it has been taken away. You got places like, and speaking of entertainment, Golden Horseshoe Cafe, who has nothing. They took the piano away. They've got nothing there. You've got a walkway that is now closed as of yesterday. You can no longer walk from New Orleans all the way over to Galaxy's Edge, and right there, you're seeing the pictures of the piano. It's gone. Nothing's happening inside Golden Horseshoe. That is such a waste of space, right?
Such an amazing venue too.
On top of that, you have they're talking about trying to get the Haunted Mansion open without the line queue being done or the store, because they're going to plan on doing virtual queue. They're going to open up the ride with the Halloween, overlay, or Nightmare Before Christmas overlay, but they're going to wait on finishing everything else. Why would you do that? That is horrible. Why don't you just release it when it's done? Because they want to get ready for Halloween, right? And I can't believe, and again, I don't know that that's going to be confirmed or not, but I'm really hoping they don't, because you can see there's so much work that needs to be done here. Tiana's Bayou Venture, and in this article, they're talking about, hey, they may start doing, preview rides in August. No way. No way. There's so much stuff that needs to be done. You wouldn't believe all this stuff. If you were actually able to go to the park and see what I've seen, you would be like, no. Look at this. I mean, it's tore up. It's messed up. They haven't even. That's what it still looks like, by the way. And I was just there on Saturday.
This is Friday. These are recent photos. August. There's no
way.
And January.
Oh, I think it might be even later than that, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be 2025 before we see this ride open. Everyone keeps saying, no, it's going to open 2024. No, I've been saying this all along. It's not going to open. All right. And then you have things like Downtown Disney. It hasn't been completed, hasn't been finished. They're trying to get it done. I was at Din Tai Fung yesterday. I did eat there. That was kind of cool. But you still have Earl Sandwich that hasn't been completed. You still have a lot of places that haven't been finished. I'm still saying Porto's is not coming. Everyone keeps telling me, "Oh no, Porto's is still coming. Porto's not coming."
Well, I think MiceJet actually, for the first time, actually admitted, like, it might not be coming, which is the first coverage outside of here on C3PO that I've heard that from Bob. So you were on top of that
from Very Place 28, because I've been saying this since February. Porto's not coming. And everyone's like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "It's not coming." And there's things I could say and could not say, and it's just I don't see it happening whatsoever. But
think about what that says. These Portos people are pretty successful, and they're pretty smart, and they're pretty savvy on what works and what doesn't in Southern California. They've been doing it for years, and they had an opportunity to be at Disneyland. Oh my God! And they left. They said, "No, I don't think we're going."
The contract of having to it's an expensive contract, and on top of the rent, sometimes Disney takes up to 50% of the profits from some of those restaurants. It's crazy. And then they want them to be 365 days a year, and they're like, we don't run 365 days a year. We're not doing this thing. So there's a lot of different factors falling into this, and like some businesses, obviously they can do it and they want to do it, but since Porto's is a family-owned restaurant, I actually have to give them kudos for them not wanting to do this.
Integrity.
Yeah. Pretty sure I heard
there's an old expression.
Park Streamers Hangout. That is true.
but there's an old expression: is the screwing you get worth the screwing you get? And they figured out that equation and said no thanks.
Yeah.
And by the way, La Brea Bakery walked away, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They also walked away.
And they sure as heck have all the success in the world, and they know how to make it work. I don't know if you know this, but their par bake stuff is all over where you are, Vash, and in Vegas and everywhere else. And they everybody says, "Oh God, I could be as big as Disney." Real businesses are saying they could be as big as me if they acted like Menches, but no. So,
but this is the whole thing I was trying to say. Sorry, because I have to go here in a moment. But
I'm sorry.
All these things. That's all right. All these things that are happening in the parks are just taking away from people not wanting to be there. Now, there's still a lot of people going to Disneyland. Obviously, with the Magic Keys being blocked out for the bottom two tiers, not as many people are going. It was lighter on the weekends last year in the summer too. But also this reservation thing, they just need to get rid of it. I mean, they've got the reservations good to go days in Florida, but they have them here. No. I think that a lot of people are staying away from things like that. They have to take the time to plan it, buy tickets, do the reservations, all that stuff. It's a hassle. It's a pain. And you don't have to do that with Universal, Knott's Berry Farm, Six Flags, SeaWorld. You don't have to do that with any other park. So take some of these things away that you're doing and add what you need to and start innovating and doing some other things. And I think you'll see some improvement. But the problem is there's so much shut down in the park right now and there's not as much to do. Why does anyone want to go to Disneyland right now? They seem to want to go other places. Not totally, but a lot of people are.
Covered a lot of ground there, and I can't disagree with any of it. I mean, I think you were really on point there, and they're facing big problems right now, guys. they really are. From proprietors not necessarily wanting to take the take the shaft to put it so eloquently put there. From outsourcing a lot of work. Maintenance issues. I think Pro was actually mentioning maintenance issues on his show prior to ours. It's really starting to stack up here, and we really need to get not only investment but people who actually care about this company in key positions turn the ship around, because I think that's what it's going to take. But I know, Bob, you are on your way out, and you just actually launched a brand new channel associated with Berry Place 28, Theme Park Casual, and Cordy, California. Could you illuminate us on this and where we might be able to find you otherwise?
Sure. So you can find me on all my channels at Berry Place 28. So that's Instagram, YouTube, X, TikTok, etc. And then with Theme Park Casual and with Cordy, California, we launched Park Streamers Hangout. Now, we've been doing it for a year, but this is a brand new channel that we're launching on YouTube. And our first show is going to be this coming Monday. We hope that you guys can join us. We are going to be raising money for Chalk Walk. And if you're not familiar with Chalk Walk, it's a Children's Hospital of Orange County. And it's a great organization. And we're trying to raise money for this great fund. The walk is actually in Disneyland and DCA. So we're going to be doing a show, and we're going to talk about some Disneyland news, obviously, and theme park news. But we're also going to be trying to raise money for this great organization. We've already raised over $7,600, and we're trying to raise, I think we're going to try to raise about $10,000 possibly. So we'll see what happens, because it's on July 21st. But we hope that if you want to take the time to come join us, as Theme Park Casual mentioned, I actually reported the whole Portos thing back in February on that channel, and then obviously shared it with That Park Place and some other close friends and other channels. But it's funny. I just saw people doing all sorts of rumor stuff over the weekend on Instagram and whatnot. And I'm like, I kind of started that whole story, and everyone's like, oh, you did? I'm like, I did back in February, and they're like, oh. So
there's an old expression that a prophet is always disrespected in his own time, and only appreciated afterwards. So
the thing is,
the video that we had, let me just see if I can get past this ad. Oh, come on, YouTube.
Got to watch your own ads. Wow.
Well, it was on here. It was about 2 months ago on the channel. You can find it on T3PO. Thank you so much for that.
By the way, that's a super logo.
Thank you. Well, Theme Park Casual is the one that helped us create it. He did an amazing job on it. And we kind of did the whole, if you can tell, the flags are from the Disneyland ticket book. Sure. And obviously we wanted to do something that was Disney related, but not Disney related for theme parks. But guys, I love sharing this information. Every time I get new sources of information, I always share it with Vash so we can share it on That Park Place as well as Park Streamers Hangout. But thank you so much for your time today, Vash. Lou, it was great seeing you. Ron, I know he's no longer here, but it was great being with him. And as always, I look forward to seeing everyone next week. So have a great week, everyone. Oh, and by the way, I'll be streaming on Thursday, I believe, in Disneyland if you want to come join me.
Fantastic. Links are in actually the chat right now. They'll be in the description. I believe they're in the description right now. I got to get the Park Streamers one, but anyway, all the links are in the chat. There are additional links in the description. Thank you so much, Bob. We will see you next week here on T3PO. At least I'm hoping so.
Yes. I know you same bat time, same Berry channel.
That's right.
I like that. Wow. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks again.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We have a ton of super chats.
Let's go over because I was looking at a couple, and I have.
You got thoughts? Okay. Cool.
About a couple.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and hit a few of those. Thank you so much, Bob, for joining us today. And let's go over a few of them before getting back to the news. Let's see here. I know CliffFlix.
That's
okay, let me go to your first. Oh, okay. Let's go to this one then. $5 from CliffFlix. Thank you so much. I'll hit your $10 one as well in a moment. Do you think that Universal is deliberately avoiding the culture war after seeing how it affected Disney? Is Comcast learning from Disney's mistakes?
I think
Lou, take it away.
The answer is that they already knew. They didn't learn from Disney. They said, "See, I told you so" at Disney. And let me tell you why. Remember always that the excuse or reason, and I don't know which, that Chapek gave for transitioning from, I'm not going to get into that, to joining on the so-called Don't Say Gay Bill bandwagon was, well, our cast members insisted, and we have to show solidarity with them. In fact, when he finally did, he said, "I'm sorry I didn't before. I apologize." Well, Disney and Universal draw the same basic cast profile as people, as their age group, as their political beliefs, their sexual orientation. And they obviously said, because their cast members must have agitated for it too, it was a pretty unified reaction in that community. And they said, "No, we don't do that here. We make people happy. Go fish." And especially when you consider that Comcast Universal is MSNBC, is CNBC, is NBC itself. They have even more reason to have gone that way, and they still said no, because they said, that's our news and opinion business. This is our theme park business, never the Twain show. Okay? And so the answer is, yeah, they saw how it affected, and they said, see, that's exactly why we didn't do it. I don't think it was a question of, well, we thought about it, but then when we saw Disney, we decided no. They made the right decision without the influence of Disney, I think. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually think you're correct. I think they're reading the tea leaves, and they kind of understand, like, ooh, let's not do this.
They know what business they're in.
Exactly. Yeah. They they know exactly what business they're in. I think they've just been a lot more savvy about, I don't want to say taking the company in that direction, but allowing some of that influence in various aspects of the company, but not necessarily as publicly or as boldly as Disney has. And I think that's the big difference right there for sure. Clifflix, for that, very much appreciate that. And another Clifflix super chat with $10. Thank you so much. Unbelievably generous. Thank you. How bad is the attendance of the other 3 parks? I guess Disney expects the brand new amazing Communicore Hall to bring in crowds at Epcot. Now, I actually have screenshots from all of the parks on that day, but actually, if you look at that Park Place article from Marvin the Movie Monster, he has a couple of screenshots of his own that really gives some insight. 5 minutes for Disney's Hollywood Studios Alien Swirling Saucers, or Kilimanjaro Safaris, 5 minutes.
That's astounding. That one's always long. Always.
You would think so. It's the premier thesis attraction of that park. The fact that is as low as it is, especially for the high cost of operation that attraction entails, is really, really something that is quite astounding. Again,
it's really
Kilimanjaro Safaris.
As much as building all of that animal area, as opposed to the human area, was about the atmosphere and the theme of the park and the part of it that's visible from the hotels. Basically, that whole area is this attraction.
Yes.
Whatever part of it was spent on that, from acquiring the animals to acclimating them to building it all to putting in the plants and the water, and a lot of which the people don't even see because the animals are, back there. That's one attraction. And it costs a whole hell of a lot more than Tiana's Bayou Disaster, I'll tell you that.
This was 3 o'clock. This was 3 o'clock on the 4th of July. And you're thinking, well, okay, maybe it's a Thursday. Maybe, things picked up later in the week or weekend. They did not. Hear from Blog Mickey to give you more insight on this, Cliffix, as well. All of the virtual queues for the entire Walt Disney World Resort were still available, the 1 p.m. virtual queues, that is, as of 2 o'clock. Now, the significant part about that is all of these would be taken, on any other day in seconds. You'd be lucky to even get a virtual queue from any of these attractions, and yet they were still available for over an hour on Saturday, July 6th. Think about that, folks. This is really, really paltry of a showing attendance-wise for the entire Walt Disney World Resort. And I don't think it should be understated, not in the slightest. Thank you so much, Clifflix, for that. $10 from AWM Trends Entertainment TV, I believe is the name there. Do apologize if I got that wrong, but he says, "Hey guys, glad to keep that Park Place Network show going today. Thank you so much. You're helping us out, whether you give or not, but thank you so much for giving. I think it's hostile takeover time. Oust Iger and the whole C-suite. Fire everyone else. Hired in a DEI." It might be.
Here's the thing.
Please.
The analysis that I half-assed did a little bit ago about how bad things are and how difficult it will be to turn it around. There are people out there who can see the value of what will be left if they can do that. But the people who can really do it are the ones who are going to take a really hard look, because they will appreciate the difficulty of pulling it off. Yeah. If you got somebody like Peltz or Elon Musk or somebody who basically says, I have the knowledge and experience, damn the torpedoes full speed ahead, swell. But there aren't many people like that, even among the very, very wealthy people that could do it. So it's a very small subset of the investment community that will dare to take on that challenge. A lot of them might want to, but then their cooler heads will prevail and they'll say, oh, man, you're not going to see anything from this for 20 years. So
it's very concerning to see the whole drag down of the entire company. I mean, this is organization wide. This is not limited to just one division or another. I mean, it's really everyone that's really kind of joining in on the
hanging over all of that is whatever sorts out from the SIFTOD Reedy Creek thing as far as any legal issues. There were crimes committed. So
yeah, I mean,
which is
you would
why
have to think there has to be embezzlement in some level, because you can't spend $180 million on a show like Acolyte and have it be as disastrous as it is when you have.
I'm talking about the stuff through Reedy Creek.
Oh yeah,
selling securities and all the rest of it. That's fraud. That's criminal fraud for somebody. And so in those kinds of cases, everybody but complete idiots or people who can't afford a lawyer cuts a deal. How good or bad that deal is huge. That's why I said Peltz was so brilliant to want Rizzullo along, because he's the kind of guy who could go to the authorities and say, look, we screwed up. What'll make you happy, make you go away. And they'll make a deal. Somebody else will say, oh, we didn't do anything wrong. Oh, yeah? Do not pass go directly to jail. That business with the parking lot structure paid for by taxpayers. Taxpayers within there, including all the other hotels and companies that are in the district. This is something out of a late night TV movie, about, like these exposés of what happened at Enron or what happened here or what happened there. It's going to be that kind of story. Not to mention what's the estimate? $1 trillion it's going to cost them compared to what they were spending on operations once the new regime goes in.
Yeah, I mean, over 100 years, it probably will be. It probably will be close to that amount. Given the fact that the tax burden, I don't think has necessarily been factored into this equation. And look, maybe they make nice with Ron DeSantis right now and his board or whatever. Okay, maybe, but that regime, that whole thing's going to change. The dynamic's going to change, and obviously, the political situation in Florida, it's not necessarily pro Disney at this point, and that will be taking effect, I think, in a big
by the way,
in the coming years.
All of their rivalry in the nomination process to the contrary,
right?
In my mind, and I have to think somewhere in the back of his, although I don't read minds for a living, if Donald Trump wants to choose the right guy to be his attorney general, to clean up law enforcement and intelligence and go after the people that have perverted it so badly, the number one person for that job is a certain lawyer and ex-SEAL and ex-governor at that point of Florida, Ron DeSantis. That's what he ought to do next. And if he's sitting in the offices that control federal prosecutions and SEC investigations and all the rest, you ain't seen nothing yet.
One could make the argument, that is for sure. AWM Trends Entertainment TV, thank you so much for that. I know you've got some more, so we will get to those immediately post-haste. But first, Lady True North, I believe. Yes, $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. Parks equals golden goose equals golden eggs. Disney, who prided itself on being a fairy tale place, said it no longer understands and believes. So true. It's so true. It's what Lou was talking about before. They have to want to change, and more importantly, they have to want to even know there's a problem. I don't even think there's a desire within the company to understand that there is a problem, much less understanding what the problem is and wanting to fix it. I mean, we're so many steps removed from getting to that.
They've told us they know what the problem is. The problem is The customers are wrong. The problem is the fan base is corrupt and evil and hates them.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Oh, man.
Unlike my dear friend, Lady True North, to whom I send many felicitations, because that's a Lady True, period. North
that's
or anything
right.
else.
Lady True North, you've been such a great supporter of all of our channels on the That Park Place Network. Thank you so much for that.
She supports me, not you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Well, that's, hey, you know what?
And my wife approves, by the way. So, you know.
Oh, well, good. I am happy to hear that for sure. Hey, if you support Lou, you support all of us. Thank you so much for that. AWM Trends Entertainment TV comes back with $5. Thank you so much again. Josh is worthless. His nickname should be Mr. Blue Sky. I know. This guy is always about, hey, look, think about the stuff we could do, guys. Isn't this great? Oh, look at this animatronic showcase or whatever of some hopping Judy Hopps or whatever that you'll never see in the parks. Isn't it great? It's like, not really, Josh. If these things aren't tangible, if people can't expect these things to be seen in the parks. For example, like the last D23 Expo that they had, I believe it was in 2022, what happened to the Hulk exosuit? They spent so much time for that presentation. It's no longer in the parks. It was only in there for like 2 weeks. I was in Anaheim. I didn't even get to see it. I just thought of
something. I blame PowerPoint.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't care what you do for a living. You've met somebody in your home office who's the guy who makes all the PowerPoints. They have no relation to reality. Even the numbers they typo. But by God, they got a great PowerPoint for that.
It's so true. It's so frustrating. Thank you so much, in WM Trends, for that. HI Dragon Star with the $5. Thank you. Disney's answer to Epic Universe will be reskinning old rides, and they will be taking down. Yeah, exactly. That is why they are doing Tiana's. It's such a drag. So we're hearing about what is it? Carousel Progress being looked at to be reimagined. They're already doing, Dinoland USA into a Tropical America's theme, right? Dinosaur the attraction. It's being rethemed to Indiana Jones. Test Track 3.
Yeah, there's a smart idea, by the way. First, you kill one of America's most popular characters and franchises is dead with the worst damn movie. And then you say, hey, that dead thing? Let's build a ride around it. Because the original ride is the same pattern as the other ride we built, the one over your shoulder. And boy, I have a great idea, guys. Indy's dead. Let's do a ride. People will love that. Give me a break.
And that shouldn't be understated right there. This was a $300 million production. It did unbelievably bad at the box office with a worldwide gross of $383 million. To give you an idea how bad that is, folks, Despicable Me 4 just did about $229 million over the 5-day weekend. So it's practically already there, just a shy 150 away, which they'll achieve that by next weekend. And that's only within 2 weeks of release, versus the entire run worldwide of Indiana Jones was only able to amass $383 million. For a lot of people, that might not be even enough to pay back the budget on this, assuming that they got the entire box office gross, which they absolutely do not. So tragic. So to Lou's point, taking an attraction and theming it to Indiana Jones on the back of this movie, probably not the best idea in the world. I know why they're doing it, but still, we need more capacity at Walt Disney World Resort.
Let's assume they already had that in plans, and they thought the movie was going to be a big hit, and it wasn't. Isn't that a good reason to rethink and change? And the contrary example is the Harry Potter ride at Epic. which the outside is France. Why? Because it was going to be built all around the fabulous success of the 3 Fantastic Beasts movies that never got a 4th. And halfway through, they said, wait a minute, these movies aren't that popular. And so they changed the ride. Now you go in Paris, but you wind up in England.
Yeah,
so,
because of the Flume Network. We have a surprise guest here on T3PO. Jonas!
Hello.
What are you doing over here on that Park Place podcast?
I am here because there is too much going on, and I thought I would call you, but I realized that the best place to break news is here on the channel. I don't know. Have you talked about what's going on with the Disney Cast Members Union yet?
Oh, did we see an announcement there? Okay, should I do the breaking news banner right here?
Hold on. Wait, well, I mean, you could do it, and I'll get this up on screen while you do it.
Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and get that going, folks. We've got some breaking news. You know what that means?
Here we go. Disney cast members announce strike authorization vote. Unions representing 14,000 cast members announce a scheduled strike authorization vote for Disneyland cast members. That's coming up in 10 days. Things are not going well, apparently. So as if this company needs one more thing. That's not good.
That is terrible. That means that if they don't come to a negotiation quickly, you're going to see the cancellation of practically all of the entertainment that remains at the Disneyland Resort until this actually gets sorted out. And those demands, they're going to achieve them one way or another. Whether that means Disney approving a final deal in the back end there, and them just saying, "Hey, we're just going to reduce entertainment in general at the Disneyland Resort," or maybe they don't come to such agreement. At least, I mean, this is a lead up to the fall and the Christmas season as well. Oh man, Jonas, this is going to play havoc with operations and capacity.
Well, you just have to think of all the things that have been going on leading up to this moment right here. And I'm not saying that they're striking, but this is actually, Lou, you are the best person to ask. How big of a deal is it for the union to schedule a strike authorization vote this far into negotiations?
It's big. It can happen. I wonder, with all these cancellations of entertainment and things in the park, how many people voting are members but not working anymore?
That's a very good point, because we do know that right now the Cinderella Castle show at Walt Disney World just got canceled for 3 weeks out of the blue. We know that a lot of entertainment out in Anaheim has been shut down, including the Doctor Strange show has been pulled back. The Warriors of Wakanda, or whatever that is called, there we go. Doctor Strange Mysteries of the Mystic Arts at Avengers Campus is said to be the final performance said to be at the end of last month. Okay, so we're past this now. So I know it's like a magic show, essentially, but it is a Disney magic show, which is supposed to be better.
It's a magic show where you cut the cast in half.
Also, too, Magic Happens will be ending its run earlier than expected. Here's the thing: that's what 8,000 people or so actually, are taken off the streets or taken outside of attractions and line up along the parade corridor in order to experience this show. That's going to be closing here on August 22nd. And it was supposed to be in the lead up to the fall and Christmas seasons, which have their own entertainment slates. But now those might actually happen. And that's, like I said, Jonas, we have so many attractions going down right now. To have a parade like this go down on top of the attractions that are already going down and the other entertainment that should be soaking up all kinds of guests on its own, now potentially being upended by this deal right here. This is bad. Disneyland Resort did not need this.
Right. So they're obviously struggling right now. We're hearing that, and I say we're hearing, we know people who were in the parks to see that there was no one in those parks. Lorena said that the fireworks show on 4th of July should have been 13 minutes long. Usually is 13 minutes long. It was only 7. I think she actually has the recordings of it to back that up. But we're seeing good to go days opening up in July here for annual pass holders to be able to get in. Normally that would not be opened up for people to come in. I think the parks are in trouble right now. More than they said there would be some softness in the quarters. I think this is going on even farther, to a greater extent than we originally thought, that the parks are softening in a big way.
Oh, I think it's huge. I think it's massive. I took some photos of 4th of July weekend at Disneyland, and it wasn't quite as bad as Walt Disney World, but it was extremely soft. And my show actually included that in that big article that we went over earlier in the show. They said that, look, I mean, Disneyland doesn't look like this during this 4th of July holiday frame, and yet that's it's very atypical, and that's exactly what happened here. Maybe Disney forecast this. Obviously, we know that they activated those summer 2024 ticket offers, right, in order to get on the low end of that elasticity that we talk so much about on our channels. But to take down entertainment as well. I mean, is this a hit? I don't think Disney did a whole bunch of moves in order to prevent this from actually happening. We heard internally, I think we had Marty Snyder on the show last week talking about how, they were putting maybe pressure in various groups and organizations and cast member cliques and so forth in order to prevent this from happening, in order to say, hey, vote against this strike. All that's for naught. We're going forward here at a horrific time right before D23 Expo. Well, I think this is going to affect that as well.
Oh my. Well, the other thing that you can add here, of course, is that we know that 50% of cast members in the park were not there in 2020. And I would assume that there are things that have happened, like the forcing of a medical procedure that maybe not everyone wanted to be forced to have, or people who would have been willing to get that who had a bad taste in their mouth because they didn't appreciate the company forcing that on them, despite there obviously being legal battles against it. You have a massive change in the makeup of this organization. And so the people who were dedicated to the company, seeing that it is a different company and leaving, and now you have people that aren't, I don't want to presume that they're not as dedicated to the company just by years of service here. I'm going to say you have a lot of people who are not in the tank for Disney the way that they would have been, say, 10 or even, of course, 20 years ago.
Let's describe the people who would vote for this in this way. You know that endless Anaheim meeting that Vash and I watched?
Yeah.
These are not those people. These are not the people out there cheering for Disneyland forward.
Yep. And on top of it, as I compliment this wonderful animated background that you have here, one more time, great job to whoever made this. The thing that I see here is we're seeing these buildups of broken things in the park. We're seeing an additional level of aggressiveness from guests. We're seeing a lack of training for cast members. We're seeing, I don't want to say a lack of care for those cast members. Again, I'm going to emphasize lack of training for those cast members on what is and is not acceptable. We're seeing loosening of rules for who gets in the door, perhaps creating a situation where people are not Disney diehards. They just have a job at the park. And of course, we see the reason that we had yet another unionization at the company with this poor girl who had her eyes dyed black by the contacts that were presumably for a mantis costume, and no sign from the company, no acknowledgement from the company of why that happened or why it was not treated or how it was treated by the company. Injuries for cast members and things like that. This to me, I think. My gut feeling is it's going to happen. I'm not, you can never know how 14,000 people are going to vote, but it's hot out there right now. And I don't think the pay is very good right now. And I don't think the situation at Disney is as joyful and as magical as it once was. So I think they're on their way unless Disney ponies up some cash.
Well, that's the thing, Jonas. You bring up a great point right here. The heat in the room. I mean, I think the LA Times just had an article talking about how the the entertainment industry as a whole in LA. There, you got a lot of people going. I can't necessarily wait for 2025. I guess there's a like there's a saying out there saying survive until 25, and that's the anticipation that a lot of these studios will reactivate a lot of their productions that they've cut back in 2024. What a lot of people are saying, I can't do it anymore. I have to work or live somewhere else other than LA, going off to all these other states and so forth. The economic climate in LA is worsening and in that area, right? And these cast members are, absolutely affected because they not only have gigs at Disneyland, but they also have gigs within the industry. So I think they're going to be inclined to vote in this direction simply because the cost of living and the lack of productions in the area might force them to.
I think you're totally right. Everything that I'm hearing out of Hollywood, which Lou, you're obviously probably more qualified to comment on this. Everything I hear from people in Hollywood is that they're struggling. So,
yeah, well, remember, aside from anything else in the general economy, when you live in the place that's the most expensive place to live in the known universe, with the highest taxes, it all goes triple,
Well, this is
and that goes
tough.
for living in working in a theme park for relatively low wages. And what do you suppose the average rent is in Anaheim, let alone anywhere else?
Oh, I mean, the homes next to Disneyland are $1 million, and they were made in the 60s. They're nothing to scoff at in terms of their architectural styles or their square footage. It's unbelievably expensive to live out there, and so I understand from that angle why they would be inclined to do this. My problem with it was always, hey, look, listen, Disney's going to pay the same or allocate the same costs for entertainment as they have before. They're just going to do it in a different way. Usually that means cutbacks and so forth in order to get to those numbers that they had before. So I wasn't necessarily inclined with that side of the argument. However, when it comes to safety and maybe workman's comp claims or health insurance or all these other things, yeah, maybe I can kind of see them unionizing over those things and getting their way to change the kind of culture internally that maybe could not be changed any other way. But man, I mean, this is big, Jonas. This is absolutely big.
This is really big.
And we're going to have more coverage on this, not only on 2-3PO, but also on that park place. I know Jonas is like, hey, we got to get recording. And
we will. Yes, that's the thing. And I'm looking at your super chat list and I'm seeing that people are being very generous. And I hate to jump in on what it might be. I don't know what your schedule is here today, but I figured you would forgive me for the interruption here.
Oh, no, you're completely fine. Oh, I had no idea this was going down. I had no idea. I've been trying to look at Twitter and see what the news stories are. I did not see this on the horizon. So thank you so much.
The other breaking news is that Shrek is officially announced for July of 2026, which should have Disney peeing their pants. So,
the Shrek, is that the live action redo?
No. Shrek 5. Shrek 5.
Oh, Shrek 5. Oh, yeah. So, that's bad, especially with Despicable Me tearing up the box office right now. What, $229 million over the 5-day?
Yeah, doing pretty good.
It's going to keep on tearing for weeks.
And it only cost them $100 million to make that thing. So, and it is the most merchandise film.
Yes, that's the big
this year from AMC. AMC is very happy to have Universal playing along with them, and I have a feeling AMC is going to remember everything that Disney did to them as of The Last Jedi. Disney was a horrible business partner when it came to The Last Jedi, which they saw all those returns for The Force Awakens, and they said, you know what, we want all of your theaters, even if you're a 5-theater complex, we want 4 of them dedicated to Last Jedi at all times if you want the sequel to the biggest domestic release of all time. And then of course look at what happened with Star Wars. I don't know if you heard about that.
I heard a couple of things. Yes,
there are rumors to that effect.
Yes, exactly. Oh, it's just terrible. It really is bad. What is going on right now within the Walt Disney Company? I don't think they're ready. I don't think they're ready for the competition on the theme park side. I don't think they're ready for the competition on the studio side. It's coming fast and furious, and I don't necessarily see that much on the horizon that might maybe assuage investors or even the entertainment community.
Well, they do have a new flavor of Dole Whip, and it was personally experimented with by Bob Iger 5 times. I think it was called
yes.
it was
Just
called
to get
Crow.
Crow. I love you, Lou. Never change.
Well, I should change. Ignore that message I just put in the
Well, I thought that we were going to be, when I said strike, I knew that you would have that one on the mind.
This is I pulled up an article because I saw it quick and I thought, holy crap! And then it turns out it's from the 2021 thing, the previous contract, which I've been explaining to everybody. What left a lot of bad feelings, but this explains it a little better. But it's inaccurate to our current era, so ignore it. Well, anyway, and everybody else can just have a mystery about what that is. It was me overreacting.
Yahtzee.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well.
We have a few more super chats that we want to go ahead and make sure that we get to right here because of Jonas's breaking news. Some of the other topics that we had on the brain here, like OLC's entry into the cruise line business, very, very interesting, and also too Epic Universe's semi-announced ticketing offers. Well, that'll have to wait for another show, but we definitely want to get to the people who have generously donated because, wow, I mean, it is absolutely amazing. I don't want you to feel left out. So, AWM Trends Entertainment TV with another $5 with a super chat. Thank you so much for this. Let me go ahead and get to it. Yes, let me make sure I'm on the right one. Sorry. Jonas, I do apologize. I can't necessarily read them that clearly on my screen.
I'll read them for you if you want. AWM Trends Entertainment for $4.99. I know the Portos. Whoever couldn't figure out the deal at Disney is an idiot. That place would have been packed.
Yeah, yes. But they wouldn't have made any money because Disney would have taken it all.
It is. So Jonas, I don't know if you heard, but my chat was reporting that Disney not only charges rent for the tenants on Downtown Disney or maybe even Disney Springs, but they also take as much as 50% of the profits from those proprietors. Crazy.
Highway robbery. I mean, especially if you're in Florida, if they're doing the same thing out there at Disney Springs, first of all, it explains the prices. Second, they're also taxing those people without representation down there. I think that might be fixed now with the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, but man, what a deal.
There we go. There's one more thing to add to the score of what it's costing them to have done what they did to stir up the hornet's nest.
Yep. Did you already get Hawaii Dragon Star for $5?
Oh, yes, I did. If you want to, you can go ahead and unstar the ones above. KMW Trends right there. But Marty Snyder with $5. Fantastic show. As always, gentlemen, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
If you want to read them, you can, but I don't want to.
No, please, no, go ahead. I thought I was helping you out. I'm fine to return your show to you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Do not adjust the horizontal. Do not adjust the super chats. Control voice will return the show to you.
Oh man, Outer Limits that also ran from Twilight Zone. Still great TV.
I think it was better than Also Ran, but
well, there you go. Right. Thank you so much, Marty Snyder, for that. I love you on the show, by the way.
Agreed. By the way,
you might not have been on the show today, but trust me, we fought you in spirit. That's for sure. AWM Trends Entertainment TV for $5. Thank you so much again. If they touched Carousel of Progress or American Adventure, I will riot. You're gonna riot. You're gonna riot. They're both on the list for reimaginings, as Disney likes to say nowadays. Hate it. Terrible. Cliff Flicks for $5. Thank you again so much. Already $15. Now at $20. Thank you. Have you heard rumors of Disney removing Ben Franklin and Mark Twain because they are, quote, problematic? Will Elon Musk stay in the final movie? Yeah, it is amazing how Elon Musk, he's still there at the end, the tail end of American Adventure during that video montage there. Very interesting. I would think that Ben Franklin or Mark Twain might get the boot in favor of maybe a woman presenting of color. What do you think?
Kamala.
Lou?
They'll put in a Kamala animatronic.
They could put the real thing and no one would know it wasn't an animatronic.
Except what she says, which is the American adventure could be an adventure if I could predict it, I would say it's an adventure because it's an adventure. And I predict it's easy to see, but hard to foresee. But I foresee it'll last as long as I can see. See? At which point, Mark Twain says, "Get out of here." And hits her. Anyway.
Unburdened by what was, or whatever the quote is.
That's it.
It's amazing. Oh, that's great. Yeah. I predict one of those figures we'll have to take, unfortunately.
Yeah, they'll take it into the future, and the country's a total chaos. And she'll say, "I like to think Kamala Harris was a big part of that." Westward ho, Miss Harris. Westward ho, indeed.
Going shogi with $5. What would a strike do to Boogie Bash? It's a whole thing. Is character interaction and the stage show. Oh, that's a great point.
Ooh.
That I never thought about that. You were exactly right, Going Shogi. This, from what we understand, Jonas, this what is it? A strike or this union involves those cast members as well, right?
I don't know. We need to do more research here, but that tweet said Disneyland. I don't know if that is a cross-country union or if that is just an Anaheim union. So
well, Oogie Boogie Bash is only Disneyland.
Oh wait, that's right. Oogie Boogie Bash just sold out in Disneyland. So yeah,
right.
This would definitely affect Disneyland.
Oh.
And Oogie Boogie Bash.
Does it affect any of the people running the spotlights and what have you? And therefore, would it? Yeah.
That's the reason why you buy in. And I think Oogie Boogie Bash starts, I think, in August.
Yeah.
Oh man, Going Shogi. I'm gonna save that one for the future because I really need to look into that immediately with this because that's a big development for sure. Thank you so much for your amazing super chat. HI Dragonstar with $5. Thank you. How would Walt react to what happened to the cast members? How the parks are? They should hook a generator to him. He would power all of the U.S. Yeah, exactly right.
I just have to correct you. It's Hawaii Dragonstar.
Oh, Hawaii
it
Dragonstar.
Hi, Dragonstar.
Apologize.
If it was high, it would be Aloha Dragonstar. Anyway.
There's two comments on this. One, I think that Walt would have paid his people better. And two, Walt hated unions.
Yep.
Oh, Jonas, as you so eloquently put, it's the reason why Disneyland exists, right? Because of the whole union fight that happened in the studio. He's like, this is
you
not
see,
the...
my grandfather was in the furniture manufacturing business, one of them. And he fought with unionization because he paid his people better than the union. And the union wanted to A, unionize, and B, make him cut down what he was paying because he was making the union people in other companies look bad. So Walt hated unions, but that doesn't mean he hated compensating people for their talent and their work.
No. Well, that's kind of why he hated them.
Yeah.
Because he did feel that he was compensating his people fairly. And to be honest, they were working in better conditions at the studio, at least around that time of that unionization effort, the strikes, than a lot of the other studios provided for their animation departments. So, hey, you know what? Maybe Walt had a point there. But I told you guys that Jonas was the best super chat reader. I told you.
What?
Yeah, well, I was just telling everybody that best super chat reader on the planet. Jonas J. Campbell, that's for sure. AWM Trends Entertainment TV with $20. Thank you so much. Maybe the Walt Disney Company should stop throwing money away on bad content. I know, right? The industry props up way too much in California. What blows my mind is the refusal to change ideology, but then complaining the ship isn't sinking. Titanic. Look, I mean, the crazy thing about this is we have $400 million going towards Captain America 4 without Chris Evans, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, and the other 7 hipsters there being reshot a third time potentially.
I think it's 4 now.
How much budget
3
for that?
And 1 original. So.
The budget for that we know is just astronomical. And again, for any one of these things that they throw money at and don't necessarily get a return back, that could have been stuff that we could have had in the parks. This is it's so frustrating.
Or another movie
so
to take a shot at the Golden Ring with.
Yeah. I mean, you have plenty of movies and plenty of film and television that could have otherwise been approved if not for this one movie or this one show going over budget the way they are. And again, I love Jonas's quote here because it's like budgets should mean the cap of how much you spend, not a goalpost. It's like you're supposed to spend under that, not inflate these things to these massive degrees.
Oh, you old-fashioned stick in the mud traditionalist.
yeah, old-fashioned about making money. It's crazy. But folks, thank you so much for joining us on this amazing episode of That Park Place Podcast Online Live. This was fantastic. Jonas, thank you so much for that breaking news right there. You've given me a ton to think about, that is for sure. Lou, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Not only 2 hours with T3PO, but also too, you just came off the Pro Show, so I really very much appreciate.
And just came off of the weekend where our show was, and I think very much worth repeating, because had I not ranted on that silly article and the way these pixie giants do these things, I would have brought it up here if we'd had the time. There's an issue in there that everybody ought to go look at because it relates to everything we were talking about today. And then, of course, on the Pro Channel, just hit the air, the latest Genre Guys, which I dubbed Snake in No Grass, which is Escape from New York, Snake Plissken and Company.
That's a great one.
I love that.
That's what I made the whatchamacallit, the thumbnail say, Snake in No Grass.
Oh, trust me. Nail opening that for T3PO will include that text, that's for sure. It's too good to pass up. Jonas, you want to tell the good fine people where they can find you and what we're doing over there?
Yeah, absolutely. That Park Place is, as Phil Robertson would say, is cooking with peanut oil right now. We have got more news than we know how to cover it all. In fact, Vash, you and I probably need to talk about that very soon. And
we'll call right after this.
We've got
an episode and let you.
We've got an episode of The Lost Guys that'll be releasing today. I will leave it to you all to discover what that is, but we're doing 2 a week on that one until we get caught up. That's Nolan Thunder, Martin Stone, and Hangry Tables there. And of course, tonight over on the Pro Channel will be the Acolyte After Party, where we will be memorializing Star Wars or whatever they are, whatever this monstrosity that currently has that IP label stuck to it.
Naked bad guys.
Exactly.
Episode 7. It's
the
oh man,
ultimate.
I just want to end. But that's for sure. And you got that game place as well, Jonas, right?
Oh yes, that's right. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time, myself, Culture Casino. I do believe that Spencer Baculi will be there. And also, hey, Space Dave 2000. I don't know if he's here in the chat, but I'm expecting him to be there tomorrow and more. You guys should definitely go check out that game place if you haven't. We get to talk about the things that we don't get to talk about on the Theme Park and Entertainment channel there. Hey, look at that. We got 1.3K subscribers already. That's fun.
Wow.
All right. Well, we're by the way, we're changing the release schedule. Everybody watches in the morning anyway, so instead of releasing them late at night, we're going to be releasing these things at 8:30 in the morning Eastern time.
Ooh. So. Very, very interesting. I love that. Well, thank you so much for the update to that.
I have this vision of poor Culture Casino being like the folks at the home. You know, they get the early bird special at the Golden Corral and go to bed at 6 o'clock because they got to be up at 5 to do all these shows all day long. Poor the curse of the time change. I mean, I know it's true for you too, Vash, but geez.
Every time we try to pull it back, he says, "Oh, give me more."
Yeah.
Exactly. I know. Culture's insane. He's an animal.
Thank you, sir.
I love him
have
so
another
much.
Show.
I gotta be up at 2 a.m. in order to do the recap for Acolyte 7, so that's great. But hey, you know what? We love doing it, and we love putting on these shows for you. On your way out, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You're gonna be redirected to Mr. H, which should still be going on right now. I know we went a little bit long, but hopefully it is. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. And that music means, well, we gotta get out, folks. So thank you so much, and you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Adios, muchachos.